Hello, BookTube. It's the return of the old man Jumper. But I just got back from my abbreviated day's errands, one of which was going to be my very first foray into cafe life. The thing that all of you take for granted, the things that all of you do all the time. I've never done it. I've never gone to a cafe, ordered a trifling, sat down in a comfy chair and just sucked up time and Wi-Fi the way everybody else in the country does. I've never done that. I've heard stories about it. Of course, it's immortalized in fiction now, but I've never done it. And I'm curious, of course, to try it and to see what it's like. And I was going to do that today. I'd worked up my courage. I charged a laptop. I had work ready that would be just enough time. But the mother of one of my teenage boys wanted me to stop by her restaurant because so I could look over school-related paperwork of his that she just got, and there was the brattle, and it's chilly, and I came up with a bunch of reasons not to do it. I will do it tomorrow. But in the meantime, I got back, and there was mail. So I figured, why take off the old Steve Jumper when I can just keep it on and open the mail? So it's a fairly representative haul, and it ends with a box, so that's good. We'll start with this here. What is this? Oh, very good. The First Congress, How James Madison, George Washington, and a Group of Extraordinary Men Invented the Government. This is by Fergus Bordwich, who does great work. Let's see if this is going to focus on this in the waning light of day. This will have advanced praise from everybody under the sun, because this guy is really good. And this is the paperback release. This comes out in February. I think I wrote a review of this, but I don't think I will be quoted because I used my review as an occasion to rant. And that tends not to get picked for blurbs. No, no, it doesn't look like it. Oh, too bad. And I'm sure that sooner or later we are going to open a paperback release on this channel that's going to have a blurb of mine. It's bound to happen, especially now that, Open Letters Monthly I helped to make. My colleagues and I, it's a free online journal. We punch significantly above our weight in terms of the blurbs that we get, the critical attention that we get. But even so, it doesn't, even after 10 years, it doesn't compare with, a 100-year-old newspaper. I am now a very frequent reviewer for the Christian Science Monitor, and everybody knows that. Everybody in the critical world now knows to look for that. So it's only a matter of time until, in fact, it might have happened already and I just wasn't looking for it. I'm not always ironclad egotistical. It's a rule, but it's not ironclad. But anyway, so First Congress in paperback, that's good. As those of you who watch this channel for any length of time will be able to guess what I ranted about. The inclusion of George Washington in that list of men who invented a government. He was an impediment the whole time. He was as dumb as a post. And I chose the occasion of my review to rant. I can't remember if I actually went through with it or not. Maybe I just wrote that just to get it off my chest and didn't send it to anybody. All right, so next one comes out in the summer when it will not be chilly anymore. This is by Fiona Barton, and it's called The Child. Looks like a thriller. She wrote a book called The Widow, which I do not know. Did any of you read it? Is it good? An instant global phenomenon is what it was. I must have been napping that day. The Widow received wall-to-wall critical praise. There's a tiny spackle on that wall that wasn't covered. I didn't know anything about it. Spent 7 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, was named a best book of 2016 by NPR and Publishers Weekly, and was an Indie Next pick. And Barton's new novel is even better. It's one of the things I miss about working in a retail bookstore, is that you don't have a sense anymore of what is a New York Times bestseller unless you scrutinize the actual New York Times lists. I read the New York Times Book Review every week, but I don't often scrutinize the lists. Whereas, I liked it before Barnes & Noble switched over to their own bestseller list. They used to just do what all bookstores did, all retail bookstores, chain bookstores would do. They would just adhere to the New York Times list. And somewhere in some boardroom in Manhattan, someone in the late 90s decided, why give them the free publicity? I wish I'd been in that boardroom because I would have told them that's not what this is at all, you moron. They're a recognized name. You're not giving them any extra publicity that they don't already have by making your own bestseller list that's going to cause one question and one question only in the minds of every literate customer who stops by that section at the front of your store and sees it. The first and only question they're going to ask is, well, okay, this is a Barnes & Noble bestseller list, but how's that compare to the New York Times? Is this book on the Times list? Because they don't care about a Barnes & Noble bestseller list. Good, it's too early to rant. So this is some sort of thriller. It's the return of reporter Kate Waters, a reader favorite from The Widow, another razor-sharp thriller. The child reaffirms Barton's growing reputation as an author of his... Well, all right, okay, but what's it about, though? An award-winning British journalist who has worked for the Daily Mail and the Daily Telegraph, among other UK publications. Barton... Okay, what's it about is what I'd like to know. Here, let's... As an old house is demolished in a gentrifying section of London, a workman moves some debris out of the way, and beneath it is a tiny skeleton, buried for years. For journalist Kate Waters, it's a story that deserves attention. She cobbles together an article for her newspaper, but she's at a loss for answers. Piecing together the few facts she can find, Kate is determined to reveal the identity of this child and the story behind the burial. But the twisted maze of secrets she begins to unearth is about to lead her to places she never expected, and disrupt 3 women's lives. Okay, all right. Well, that's the summer. And I imagine that's right up the alley of quite a few of you. I don't know. I think back and I try to remember, was it ever up my alley? Or am I gradually losing my taste for the made-up stories, just in general? And of course, if that taste does atrophy, it will start with the extremities, and that's thrillers. I'd hate to see it go. Well, we'll see. Okay. Bears in the Streets. 3 Journeys Across a Changing Russia by Lisa Dickey. And his red square in the snow. She's the author and ghostwriter who has helped to write 17 published nonfiction books, including 8 New York Times bestsellers. Who hasn't done that? She began her career in St. Petersburg, Russia, writing articles for the Moscow Times. She's an accomplished storyteller, appearing at live events such as Moth Grand Slam. She lives in Los Angeles, and this is a story of Russia. She has traveled across the whole of Russia 3 times, in 1995, 2005, and 2015, making friends in 11 different cities, then coming back again and again to see how their lives had changed. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so Bears in the Streets comes out in a week. Comes out right away. Let's see. Let's move on here. A little bit of an awkward position here because I'm trying to be nice to 2 different dogs by not really disturbing them. It's on my mind because the last couple of days my good dog has been... she's nervous anyway. She's high-strung anyway, but she's been extra bad in the last couple of days. And I was so concentrated on Lucy, my Basset Hound, my bad dog. I so concentrate on her because she's so sick that I often forget that my other dog is not well either. And in the last couple of days, as I turned to wonder why she's been extra nervous, I realized that she's also extra weak. Her hind legs are extra weak, and she's probably nervous about that. And so I'm trying to be very delicate to both of them. But anyway, this latest one is a Penguin classic. It's Voltaire, the Treatise on Toleration. Oh, all right. We should think of all human beings as our brothers. This is a quote from the book. What? A Turk as a brother? A Chinaman as a brother? Jews and people from Siam as brothers too? Yes, without doubt. For are we not all children of the same Father and creatures of the same God? This is a translation by Desmond Clark. Is this a new translation? 2016, new enough. A powerful, impassioned case for the values of freedom and conscience and religious belief. Voltaire's Treatise on Toleration was written after the Toulouse merchant Jean Calais was falsely accused of murdering his son and executed on the wheel in 1762. Okay, I don't know that case, but I know what it means to be executed on the wheel. Don't Google it unless you've got a nice, strong stomach. As it became clear that he had been persecuted by an irrational mob for being a Protestant, the Enlightenment philosopher Voltaire began a campaign to vindicate him and his family. Interesting. Okay. All right. So a new Penguin Classic. This will help with Project Penguin. Just my ongoing. Those of you who are new to the channel, my ongoing project to fill the last few gaps in my Penguin wall. All right. Let's see what this next one is. Well, okay, it's another novel. It's due in early February. What You Don't Know by Joanne Chaney. That's the stark, completely unattractive American cover. Let's see here. Publishers Weekly calls it unsettling, well-crafted. There's no doubt that we are endlessly fascinated by the psychology of serial killers, some more than others. From widely popular TV shows like True Detective and Dexter to the lives of real-life killers John Wayne Gacy and Ted Bundy. But what about the people caught in a killer's orbit? What about the ones that didn't die? With her chilling debut novel, What You Don't Know, Joanne Chaney gives us a window into 3 lives ruined by a serial killer and a glimpse at the piece of his own darkness he left behind in each of them. Doesn't that sound good? Oh my, that sounds good. All right, so who's Joan Chaney when she's at home? She's lovely, of course. She's a graduate of the University of Chicago Riverside Palm Desert MFA program. She lives in Colorado with her family, and this is her first novel. Wow, good for her. That's our author. Good for her. Excellent. I like the premise very much. We don't see it often, right? In serial killer novels, we don't often see that. The most famous example is a book I've mentioned on this channel many times before, Thomas Harris's book Hannibal, in which we get one of the only people to survive Hannibal Lecter's murderous intentions, but he's worse than Hannibal Lecter and is orchestrating an international hunt to bring Hannibal Lecter to his mansion. So it's not exactly a sympathetic portrait. And who is that victim? You Hannibal Lecter fans? Mason Verger, of course. And where is his estate? Muskrat Farm. Anyway. All right, so this next one is from Tor, which is always nice to get. They specialize in sci-fi and fantasy, and I love getting that in the mail. Okay. This is by Norman Spinrad. This is called The People's Police. Okay, so this is due in early February. Is this a reprint? Tor is thrilled to announce the hardcover availability of The People's Police, a sci-fi heavy hitter Norman Spinrad, an upbeat police story where the police, the people, and the criminal underworld are all on the same side against the corporations and banks. Certainly sounds like Norman Spinrad. Chock full of clever satire, this novel is incisive and timely as it delves into today's volatile political landscape of demagogues and corporate interest groups. It sounds prescient, but I don't remember this book from among the stuff that he's written. This can't be a new Norman Spinrad novel, can it? It must be 300 years old. There's no way. There's just no way. Oh my God, it is. This is a new Norman Spinrad. This is a new novel by one of the titans of the industry, one of the greatest. Oh, son of a gun. Well, okay. Well, that goes to the front of the list. Good Lord, a new Norman Spinrad novel. What's next? Philip Roth going to come out of retirement? All right, well, I think that's probably going to constitute the surprise of the haul. Now we're down to the box. We'll see what this is. What is this? Boxes are always fun. Oh, great. Okay, great. This is the finished copy of The Ink Blots. This is by Damien Searles, and it's about Rorschach, not the mask-wearing vigilante in The Watchmen, but the guy who made the Rorschach ink blot tests. It's a story of his life, his and the ink blot tests themselves. It's also a thread running. I read the advanced copy of this. It's excellent, and a thread running through it is also a study of the life of the ink blots. You don't realize until you think about it. You don't realize how absolutely folkloric that psychological test has become. Everybody knows it in some way or other. Everybody knows it. Which is why you could if in The Watchmen, Alan Moore could invent a character whose mask changes black and white shapes and call him Rorschach with no elaboration, knowing that his readers would get it. That's, also, as I think I mentioned when I got the ARC to this book, the cover of the ARC when I first looked at it acquainted me with the fact that I did not know, which is that Rorschach was a super hottie. I didn't know that. It had no effect on my critical reading of the book, I assure you. So this is great. This is the finished copy. This is lovely. And it comes out in late February. I could not interest any editors in this, but I will certainly review it myself. So there you go. There's the ink blots, and then a new novel by Norman Spinrad. I'm still just over the moon about that. Then What You Don't Know, debut thriller, a new Penguin classic, a translation of Voltaire, Bears in the Streets, which I suspect I will not have in this house for long, a paperback of the First Congress, and a thriller called The Child. That is today's mail haul, and I'm gonna clean up all these boxes and then tend to my baby girl and see how she's doing. I want to make sure to stress to her that her getting weaker is not anyone's fault. I'm not mad at her. But anyway, I'll deal with that off camera. And I'll see you soon, BookTube. Thank you.